right, it's the Super Centex Podcast, penultimate week of the high school football season. With me, as always, DJ Ramirez, Chad Conine. Good to see y'all.
Howdy.
So, yeah, we're almost to the end. It's been a long season. We started doing this way back in August. And now we've, like I said, reached state semifinal week. We've got 3 teams in Central Texas still fighting for a spot at Jerry World next week. And let's start with the one right here in McLennan County, those resilient La Vega Pirates. You both were down there last week at the Pfield in Pflugerville to watch La Vega against Sealy. What impressed you most about the Pirates' performance?
Chad?
I'll let DJ tackle that one first.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've been watching them play the entire postseason, so it wasn't like I felt like I saw anything that I hadn't already seen.
Mm,
Um, I feel like up to now, Sealy was probably the toughest team that they've played.
mm,
Um, Obviously, this next game coming up is probably going to be tougher, but I think their ability to, you know, um, continue to do things despite facing, challenges, continue to play in, these tough situations. They came out in the third quarter looking a little bit, I won't say flat, but definitely not as high energy as they were playing in the first half. And in a way that was, Sealy coming out and, playing tough as well. Um, but to be able to get back into it in the fourth quarter and like stop Sealy from completing their comeback. And I mean, their quarterback, Sealy's quarterback is probably one of the best quarterbacks that I've seen, this season. No dual threat, can throw it, can definitely run it. And they were trying to emphasize stopping the run, and where La Vega was having a little bit of trouble stopping the run. But when they were able to force him to throw the ball, that was where a lot of the mistakes were made. So I feel like if La Vega can take the good out of this game and maybe work on some of, those little things that Coach Hyde, obviously, when we were talking to him after the game, he was like, I'm not satisfied about, our performance tonight because everybody's good at this point and we have to be better. And so that's for sure. I think their mentality going into the state semifinal.
mm.
Your point about the momentum and whenever you watch a game on TV and it gets towards the end of the second quarter, they'll say, remember, so-and-so gets the ball to start the second half, and you think, oh, well, okay, they're going to be able to add to their lead because they get another possession. Those possessions can obviously, you can create momentum by having the ball, right? But you can also create momentum by taking the ball away, and that's what La Vega did at the start of the game on Friday night. They had that. It wasn't actually a strip sack, I wouldn't say, but Warren Richardson hit Kilo. The ball comes loose, and I actually thought I got a great picture of Craig Bradley staring at the ball as it was up in the air, and then he was the one that went and recovered it and everything, and so. That initially is what I feel like, created the momentum for La Vega, which they really capitalized on used the whole first half. You talk about the thing that impressed me, and I was very impressed by the way that every time La Vega needed to play the other night, that Bryson Rowland made it happen, scored 3 long touchdown runs, and of course they made plays in the passing game too. I tweeted that, and I believe this, and I'm no scout, but I tweeted that in 2 or 3 years, Bryson Rowland is going to have people talking about Darren Sproles and Tyrone Thurman. Now, Tyrone Thurman probably isn't as well known as Darren Sproles, although he is a Texas High School Football Hall of Famer. But Brice and DJ, y'all know what I'm talking about. Diminutive guys that made a big splash at the next level and beyond. And I really believe Bryson Rowland because he's fast enough, you know,
And he's
and
smart, and he's
It's
yeah.
just the size. I feel like if he was not even half a foot taller, I would say
mhm.
maybe like 5 inches taller. I feel like a lot more college teams would be talking about him,
But
right?
he's listed as the same height that Darren Sproles is listed
Yeah,
as, you
yeah.
know.
If you're right, if somebody gives that kid a chance, and I think DJ has written that herself,
Hmm.
uh, they're going to pay off. It's going to benefit them because he's a kid, like you said, who's just a playmaker. Uh,
Hmm.
and here's what I'll say. I think for one, and obviously you guys have seen La Vega more than I have, but I think they have dudes that like when it matters, they're just playmakers. And I think
Hmm.
Bryson Rowland's in that category. Didn't Caden Rowland come up with a big interception, correct?
Yeah,
Hmm.
Caden
Hmm.
Rowland, and I want to talk about Marquay Willis because he had two picks. So that first half interception that I thought it was Jabari Thornton, we were kind of debating if it was Jabari
Hmm.
or Deontay Thomas. It was actually Marquay Willis, who's Coach Willis, the girls basketball coach
Hmm.
over there, Marcus Willis. That's his son,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
this season he's kind of stepped up a lot in the secondary. I think he had a pick. I don't remember if it was Silsby. I think it was Silsby. He had a pick in that game too, and they were talking about how I was talking to I think it was Jabari about what he thought about it. He was just like, we've been trying to get Markway in the to try to get him to understand that he doesn't have to be afraid to make those plays. And I feel like he's gotten less afraid to be the one that's in those situations.
Mm.
So him and yeah, Caden Rowland obviously, but I feel like the secondary has been super special for La Vega this season.
Yeah, I was certainly impressed with him when I saw that ball hawking secondary. So this week, DJ referenced it, but La Vega gets a tough Wimberley team. Um, the Texans have scored 60 or more points in three of their four playoff games. So, will this be the toughest test yet, do you think, for that La Vega defense?
Probably. We might be looking at on Friday night one of those barn burner football games that both teams have answers for the other teams. One thing I was thinking about this morning that I wanted to bring up, La Vega's schedule, obviously they scheduled a big boy schedule, right? And when you think about it, the number of teams that they have played this year that were still playing,
Mm.
Thanksgiving weekend. Salina is still playing. West Orange Stark didn't play Thanksgiving weekend because La Vega took them out. Stephenville was playing this last week. Got beat by Amarillo West Plains, which was actually the first time I've ever heard of Amarillo West Plains.
Yeah.
So, congrats to the Wolves for making a statement on the stage. Gatesville was still playing Thanksgiving weekend, and then obviously they beat Sealy and Silsby, who were playing. So that's a lot of teams on your schedule that were still playing Thanksgiving weekend. I think that's what 5, 6, 7 games against teams like that. So that's who they've been playing all year, and it may well be. I haven't done that comparison with Wimberley, and they may be in the same boat, but I think La Vega is battle tested, and I think it's going to be a big factor on Friday.
DJ?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's you know, com like I said, this is going to be their toughest challenge, but it's not that they can't beat them, right? I mean, I'm looking at Wimberley's schedule right now. They played Canyon Lake, Fredericksburg. They have losses to LBJ, Austin, Lampasas, um, Navarro, Salado, Smithville,
Doesn't
who,
sound like their schedule's
yeah.
quite as tough as
Not, I don't think they've played the same caliber teams that La Vega has played. That's for sure. Um, I mean, last week they beat Sinton by 3 points,
Mhm.
right? So, I feel like yeah, it's gonna be a tough game, but it's a winnable game for La Vega. For me, it all comes down to Wimberley's quarterback. If you can stop Wimberley's quarterback, golden. And like I mentioned in my rewind the other day, this is probably the best quarterback they're going to face since Cash McCollum, and that's saying something because that's Cash McCollum's former school. Um, and I think this kid's name is Cody Stowmont or something. So I had to go look up how to spell his name, whatever. But he's a 3-year starter, dual threat, leads them in both rushing and passing.
Mm.
If they can stop this kid, then, I mean, not that they don't have good running backs, good receivers around him, but I feel like they're gonna have a lot of QB runs, right? They're gonna go in for a lot of QB draws, and that's where I think La Vega's defense with Warren Richardson and Broderick Scott and Kane Rowland is really going to shine if they can stop this kid from, going on those lengthy, gritty runs that he's used to going on. But I feel like La Vega's had definitely tougher games on their schedule.
So
Now,
go ahead,
you
Chad.
know, you do this long enough and you just go on as a sports obsessed person long enough, and you can kind of read the tea leaves on just the schedule results. And here's what I'm seeing from the tea leaves on Wimberley, right? They lose to Lampasas on September 20th. And then starting September 27th, right? They score 47 points, 59 points, 41 points, 59 points, 56 points, 44 points, 69 points, 62 points, 69 points, And I feel like they probably figured something out with how they want to play and what they want to do on offense at the end of September. And they've been a different team since.
Sure. Here's the point I will make. So we talk a lot about Don Hyde's Rod ate a lot like exterior, sort of his gruffness and how demanding he is and how unsatisfied he is and wants to challenge his team and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
That dude also, I think, really loves and knows ball.
Mm-hmm.
And like so DJ and I were in the press box for the University China Spring game earlier this year, and Don Hyde was up there. And DJ, you'll remember this, but he's sitting there breaking down the game the whole time, and he's like, ah, London Smith is open. Why are they not, And like like he can't turn that. And a lot of coaches are like that, but he can't turn that little part of his brain off. I think where when there's football, he's diagramming, he's figuring stuff
Mm-hmm.
out, and I think they've got some good coaches over at La Vega, and so I don't think they're going to necessarily get out schemed or anything like that by Wimberley. So it'll be a very, very interesting matchup. That one's down in Georgetown on Friday night. Chad, you are headed out to Hamilton today as we record the podcast here on a Tuesday.
Yeah, as soon as we hang up, I'm on the road.
Yeah, you're gonna get a glimpse of Bulldog fever out there in Hamilton. Longest playoff run in school history for the Bulldogs. Uh, and that Hamilton Axtell game may turn out to be the game of the playoffs in Central Texas. What a
I mean, we haven't even talked. I talked to you on the phone yesterday. We haven't actually talked about what happened.
Yeah, it's crazy, completely crazy. So we'll get into that. But um, the question I want to ask is when you pull out a game like Hamilton did against Axtell, 15-14 coming from behind, um, how much does it help your confidence, and how much will Hamilton need that this week as they go up against number one ranked Stamford?
Well, in talking with Robert Murphy, who was Crawford's coach for years and years, about their 2004 state championship and that run that they were on, he said at one point, I remember him saying, sometimes you have to win a game you shouldn't be able to win, like kind of pull off an upset, and you have to have a game that that you get lucky to win.
Mm-hmm. You have to have breaks. You have to
Mm-hmm.
have breaks in a playoff run. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Mm-hmm. And if Hamilton goes all the way, obviously they're going to look back at Friday night when Axel decided to go for it on I guess it was 4th and 1 from their own 37. I'm not sure what the down and distance was. I just talked to Coach Marwitz last night, and he said Isaac Wood, number 20, their running back, was the one that came up and got the initial hit on Colton Horn to stop his momentum and allow them to make that stop. And Isaac Wood hadn't been playing that much defense. He came in because Hairston Hale, their punter and linebacker, got hurt during the game. Actually, that kid ended up I think he's still in the hospital in Temple. So prayers up for him. I think he's stable and doing better. Had a good day on Monday, but yeah, I mean, they're going to look back on that fourth down play. Hamilton is, if they go all the way, and they're going to be like, maybe they're going to be like, that's where we won it all right there. Now they've got monumental tasks the next 2 weeks, because anybody that follows 2A football that's looking at these brackets is probably expecting Stamford and Ganado in the final.
Yeah, for sure. They've got an uphill climb, but they've been a great Cinderella story all year. What do you think, DJ? Can they keep it going?
I feel like I still don't know how to feel about Hamilton because y'all have all gone to see them in one way or another, and I haven't really, right?
Yeah, you've been riding that La Vega train.
So I mean, I feel like, yes, you do gain a lot of confidence from winning a close game like that, especially when you're down early. But like when I was scouting the game before and I was saying, look, it's not like Axtell can't win this game, but Hamilton should have all the keys to not struggle like that, right? I just feel like based on who's left on the schedule, they're gonna want luck on their side more than anything, because obviously they can play. They're a great, talented, gritty football team. On paper, they have everything they need. But I feel like you said, they're gonna have to catch a big break against the Stamford team, and definitely if they play Ganado, because I just saw Ganado against Marlin, and I mean, there wasn't very much negative that I can say about that Ganado team.
They should be the Ganado Tornadoes. That's what they should be.
They should be the Tornadoes. I wish they would change their freaking mascot, but that's not a conversation.
We probably are not even pronouncing it right. It's probably Ganado or something. I don't know. Who knows?
So one thing that DJ was, the way she was talking about that, and I can see, like, in the regional the regional semifinal and regional final, Hamilton scored a total of 28 points, in 2 games.
They're probably going to need more than that to beat Stamford.
Well, yeah, but part of you goes, okay, can this Cinderella story keep going? Win these low-scoring games and go all the way, and it would be quite a story if they did it.
Yeah. However, it turns out, unbelievable season for Hamilton. So, our other 2A team that's still left, Bremond.
The Bremond Tigers.
Yeah, the Bremond Tigers. They actually finished outside of the top 10 in the state rankings to end the regular season. But Bremond is still playing, while several teams that were in those rankings are not.
I covered the Bremond Mart game as the district opener. I look back on it now, and everything the way March season went, I think, how did Bremond lose that game? It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't compute. Well, my question was, have people underestimated Bremond this year?
Well, and I think they have. I think they were the best team in that district. Of course, they lost to Grapeland on the road on September 6th, and then that's a game that they avenged. They avenged it the right way, or with emphasis, the other night, 45-14. So I was just impressed when they were playing Mart, how many playmakers they had, because like when we were breaking down Hamilton and Axtell last week, and we're talking about them just now. I mean, Hamilton would love to have some of the offensive stars that Bremond has. The other thing is Bremond's been operating with a freshman quarterback, so from going from playing 8th grade football to playing Grapeland and Mart in the first month of the season, that's a big step. And so I have a feeling that Sam Kozowski, I believe, has really made strides.
They've also got Tank Scott and Eddie Carazales. So obviously I feel like those two guys alone, when you talk about guys that make a difference, you got to think about those guys. But it is really impressive to have a freshman quarterback and still be playing a state semifinal, especially with like the numbers he's tossed up,
Mhm.
right? Um, for sure, I think the Tigers have been underestimated, and part of that is because, they're playing Mart, right? They're playing, these teams that have historically been top 10 teams year in, year out, have been, playing in December for a decade. Um, but yeah, I think when we were previewing that district and talking to Kevin Hoffman, he was like, this game shouldn't be the first district game.
Mm.
Mark Bremond should have been scheduled. I don't know why they scheduled it that way. He didn't know why they scheduled it that way. But I'm gonna take a note, I guess, from Jeff Rogers at Marlin when I was talking to him early in the season is like your goal as a football team is to be better next week than you were the week before and to be playing your best football now, right? So,
That
I
feels
mean,
like Bremond. Yeah.
yeah, that does feel like Bremond. I feel like, I mean, they did play some tough teams. Mart did play them tough. Goldthwait was tough. Wortham was tough. Grapeland was obviously tough in the non-district schedule. And they were, pretty deep in the playoffs. Um, I feel like Bremond has a chance to go play at that state title game, and maybe even win the title.
So Jeff Kozlowski has 3 state championships to his credit. Those were in the Rashad Paul days. Chad remembers those well. Those were fun Bremond teams to cover. So it's not like he hasn't, it's not like he's forgotten how, what it takes to win a state championship. Um, Obviously, you get a tough Shiner team, a state ranked Shiner team, but kind of along the same lines as La Vega. It sounds like I think we think Bremont is pretty battle tested because of its schedule. And I think, I think I'm taking the Tigers in this one. DJ, I loved your line from your column where you were pontificating about the greatest beverage on earth coming out of Shiner or something like that, and also wondering why they weren't like the Shiner beer makers or the Shiner brewskis or whatever. Just maybe the Shiner box. They just
Mhm.
maybe that should be their mascot.
You
I think
know it.
Chad could get on board, right?
Yeah, I don't drink that much Shiner anymore. But one thing, the great John Warner, when he ordered a beer, he said, "I'll have a bock."
I'll have a Bach. I like it. I like
Mhm.
it. I could not help but think about our friend John Werner as I've been seeing these commercials for the Bob Dylan movie because
Oh, for sure,
he
for
would have
sure.
loved to have watched that. So, Chad, you will be at the Hamilton game in Mineral Wells. DJ, you'll be at that La Vega game in Georgetown, correct?
Oh, that reminds me. I gotta contact the stadium. Hey, put me down for going on Friday night too, DJ.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I got your message.
good deal. And then we have some friends down at the Bryan Eagle who will help us out with the Bremond Tigers. They're all over that game, so should be fun. Hopefully, we get some of these teams to Jerry World next week, and maybe we can do one last podcast. So we'll see you guys. Peace.